You mentioned safety, and I want to go back there. How do you propose that we keep DCPS public school kids safe? And if you could address the aging of our buildings, gun violence, which parents are very concerned about, and investigating claims of inappropriate behavior by the adults in the building.
Yeah, let me deal with safety of our buildings. I will tell you, I'm very proud of the work that we have done. I wouldn't say we, but I would say the district. But I am very proud of the work the district has done regarding safety, especially as it relates to Stoneman Douglas and some of the recommendation that has come out of that committee from Tallahassee. We have done a good job of hardening our schools, making sure that there's one-point access points. We have done a good job in making sure that we have film. We have done a good job in our high schools making sure that they now have to go through, unfortunately, metal detectors. We have done a good job in making sure that there's a vestibule or a waiting area, if you will, so that we buzz students and visitors in. We have done a good job as it relates to now teachers having to have badges. We have done a good job where if there's a emergency, they have buttons that they can push to alert to alert law enforcement. And so DCPS has done a good job in following those recommendations to the T.
Awesome.
And so are we keeping our students safe? I believe we are. Here's the challenge. The challenge is sometimes the surrounding communities. We know what we can do within the buildings because I've seen it. But we can't address what's happening sometime before they get in the building. And what I mean by that is if a student brings a weapon to school, oftentimes I have seen this, witnessed this. This is not something that somebody had to tell me. This is something I actually witnessed, where a student, before he comes into the building, throws his gun into the bushes so he can retrieve it after school because he know he can't get it. And so because cameras caught that and we were able to see what happened, retrieve that weapon, things of that nature, they make sure that students are safe. And so do we have challenges? Absolutely. We do. Every school is not perfect. We do need to continue to tighten up on security in many of our buildings. We do need to make sure that the millions of dollars that the district has paid as it relates to keeping students safe is working. Tiffany, I can tell you, I done traveled the district. In my role, we're not doing it. We have some breakdowns that has to be fixed in many of our schools, and I have brought that to the district's attention as well to say, hey, this school unfortunately does not have the safety features or is not operating like they should. And so we have to address those issues. As it relates to, I believe you asked the latter question as it relates to
aging buildings and potential inappropriate behavior in the schools.
Yeah, so I'm zero tolerance on inappropriate behaviors with period. Zero tolerance. And if students feel a certain way about how an adult, teacher, anybody in authority is treating them, I think they need to bring that to the attention of their leadership, authorities, to make sure it is addressed immediately, investigated immediately, so that we can get down to the bottom of it, and that person needs to be removed, sent to Bulls Base, sent to wherever, till the investigation is fully done. I do not think we wait on that. I do not think we sit on that for the safety of our children. Again, as a former guardian ad litem, stuff like that bothers me because I know an investigation has to take place, things of that nature. So I'm very in tune to making sure that happens. As it relates to our aging buildings, we have some of the oldest schools in the state. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why I say thank you for going out and passing the half-cent sales tax, because we are addressing those issues. John Rebolt is getting a new building in 2025. Highlands State Academy is getting a new building in this year. Southside Estates, and so we're addressing those issues right now. But again, I said it earlier. Dr. Green and the board, in their wisdom, took out a $600 million bond. And so to keep that process going so that we can continue to address those aging buildings. Rutledge H. Pearson is a great example of that. Amazing school. Got some work still to do over there with the school, but it's an amazing school. We had to address the previous building and some of the deficiencies that it had, but it's an amazing school that has now been built. And so I think we are doing a good job of that. I think we have to continue to keep the promise that was made to the voters to make sure that those schools get rebuilt, because that's what voters went out and voted for. And so we got to keep that promise and hold the board accountable for those dollars.
So you talked about school safety, and I want to stay there for a while. How do you propose that we keep DCPS schools safe? And if you could address aging buildings, you talked about the maintenance of buildings. Gun violence, of course, is something parents are concerned about, and investigating claims of inappropriate behavior in our schools.
All right, number one, I'm a girl dad. I developed a curriculum after growing up. In the 90s, there was a case for a young lady by the name of Maddie Clifton. Maddie Clifton was kidnapped and murdered. It really hurt me as a child because I felt like that wasn't fair, right? But as a martial artist, as a business owner that teaches martial arts, I created a curriculum to protect children, specifically females, and I call it POP, Protecting Our Princesses. And when you look at your next school board member for District 5, I want to do a thorough audit based on claims, behaviors, inappropriate behaviors, because we're not going to find out in 2026 about what happened in 2023. We're going to address these issues firsthand, because as a father with daughters, I want to make sure every child, every princess feels safe in every school. I'm running for District 5, but I'm going to work for every school and every child as if they were my own. And then when you look at school safety, you also have to make sure that we have open lines of communications. Children are typically going to be our first eyes and ears of what's happening, and we got to make sure that we're elevating voice and transparency so that way we can get ahead of these issues and not behind. I'm big on being proactive. If you see something, say something, as well as making sure that we take care of our school resource officers, who are some of the lowest paid in the state. Like I said, there's got to be some buy-in, there's got to be some collaboration, and I'm willing to put in the legwork.
Let's talk about kids' safety. How do you propose that we keep Duval Public Schools kids safe? And if you could address it from the perspective of aging buildings, which you did some, gun violence, which is something that parents are very concerned about, and investigating claims of inappropriate behavior in our school buildings.
Okay, I'm glad that's a good question, because safety is more than just external, people coming in school with guns. First of all, let me start from the top and be real quick. Our country is in a bad shape right now. Kids look at TV. They see all of this stuff. The video game industry is almost immune from any kind of responsibility. Hollywood is almost immune. Don't touch them, yet they're pushing it. Then they say, well, it's the parents. The parents have to watch out. They can't see everything. We have them for 7 hours a day too. So we have to start adding pressure from that level. Everybody. Okay, now let's dive down right into the school. Rather than having the schools look like Rayford Prison with bars all over the place, I remember a time you walk right up to the school, they look like prisons now, you know, the gates opening. I think we need to have a policy, and I talked to some police officers, of more external cameras with a person designated to see who's coming in the school. This is the physical security.
Yeah.
Instead of just having a person roaming around. You need that, but you need to know what's actually coming into the school with your cameras, with advanced cameras. That's something, and that way you don't have to have your schools always looking like a prison. Once they come in the schools, I'm very much on the fence with teachers being armed. I don't agree with that. Too many things can happen with kids.
Yeah.
So I'm not in favor of that. I am in favor also of a robust police force. I would like to see the Duval County Sheriff's Department take charge, but that's $45–50 million out of the budget to do that. So that's a challenge. As far as the safety of the kids, when it comes to the well-being of our children, we know that we live in I'm just going to be transparent with you. We are in a sexually charged society that doesn't seem to want to slow down.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to talk to us. They want these children now. And they're going to do everything they can in their literature to push it. And as parents, as teachers, we have to watch out for that, because that is a part of their safety also, to save their minds. So you also need to vet teachers and staff, because they're still arresting people for what has happened, and people don't talk about it enough, what's happening in Duval County schools. We have to stay on top of it. Some people say, well, and I'm gonna go right into this. Some people say, well, you can't ban books. I've never talked about banning books. I said, get rid of inappropriate material. Because who's to say a teacher or a staff member doesn't say, hey, Johnny, come look at this book. This is good for you. And not saying a lot of them. You just have predators within our system. The kid doesn't know any better. They're scared. The teenager or whatever. Then it's years that pass by, and all of a sudden you find out this teacher's been doing this for 10, 15 years. How do we tackle that? We gotta vet teachers better. We have to watch the stuff that kids look at, because that's just exacerbating the situation. I got slapped for that. Well, Reggie, you can't do that. I said, listen, age appropriate. You just can't suppose you gave a child a book that says, Johnny, here's how to kill dad, and they had cartoon figures. Put this in his coffee because you're mad at him, and the kid does it, now you got a dead parent. And people think, Reg, that's over the top. No, it's not. Look at where we are as a society. It is not over the top. We have to look at everything in their safety. So we're looking at the physical security. We're looking at what we're teaching our kids. We have to vet teachers better. And if there is any talk of abuse of any kind, I'm not saying go in and beat the teacher, staff over the head, but go have a conversation to find out is anything valid through law enforcement. And if there is something really there, you have to pull that staff or that teacher out immediately, pending an investigation, not sit in the classroom for another 10 years. And then this is one thing that troubles me, and I have to put this out there. Out of everything that's happened, I haven't heard anyone says, what happened to the children?
Yeah.
Where are they at? And I think we're losing. I know Dr. Green left, and people were advocating for her, and Dr. Green did a good job on a lot of things, but nobody ever asked about the children. That really bothered me as a parent.
Yeah.
And I know that was another subject, but
No,
I'm pretty
appreciate
passionate
that.
about
yeah.
it.
We want to get to know you from, the perspective of the job ahead of a candidate, and also as a parent
Yes.
and a person in the community.